Hello everybody, good day to you and welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys are here. I know, I am super glad to be here. This is actually a return customer. This is a 2015 Toyota Sienna people hauler miniature van. The customer was just at the dealer and they got one seriously expensive estimate for some general maintenance and a tune-up. After reviewing said estimate, the customer said that is an incredibly large amount of money and they were not comfortable with spending that kind of coin at the dealership facility. So they brought it over here to me for a second opinion and a secondary estimate. I'm gonna do my best to kind of go through what they were offering, and we're gonna see if the recommendations that the dealership made were correct. And we're also going to see if their price point was correct, because from what I saw on the paperwork over there, they're a little bit, I don't know, like 4 times as much money as it should be. So in my estimation, the dealer was very, very much overcharging this situation. We're going to go ahead and go through the list real quick and see what they recommended, and we're going to go from there. So stay tuned, because this is going to be a very good video. Now you might ask, Ray, why did your customer go to the dealership and get an estimate for work done and have some work done when this is a return customer? And I can answer that to you quite simply, is they went there for just an oil change and tire rotation. The reason that they chose the dealership over myself is I actually offer very expensive oil changes. I do not use cheap bulk oil, and I only sell Amsoil out of the individual bottles, and I've got BG engine oil as my bulk. Now my bulk oil comes in a 55-gallon drum. I order my oil and my coolant in these large barrels right here, and by purchasing in volume I can get these at a lower price point. Therefore I can sell this premium synthetic engine oil at a much lower cost than most of my competitors. And that same thing kind of spills over into my Amsoil engine oil. I happen to be an Amsoil oil dealer, and because of that, I can purchase this at actually slightly less than a wholesale price. Therefore, I can sell this at a marginally reduced price when compared to normal retail sales type of a setting. Now, don't get me wrong, I do have some very lower priced oils. I've got some Kirkland stuff from Costco over here, the common stuff, the 020s, the 530s, and a little bit of diesel oil. But the reality is this stuff's selling for about $1.50 a quart less than my Amsoil. So I tend to move more Amsoil than I do my my cheaper product. Now, when I say cheaper product, I'm still referring to a very top tier quality engine oil, but I do get to sell that for a much better price point to my customers than most stores or most retail applications would. However, as I was saying, being it is a top tier product, all 3 of those are top tier products, I'm still a little bit pricier than a lot of establishments, because many other places, they will actually purchase their oil in like 500-gallon bulk delivery quantities. So they'll have just a big giant tank at their store, and they'll have a truck come out and just refill that tank whenever the tank gets low. So they employ the same strategy. They buy in bulk, but they do not buy premium top tier synthetics. They buy middle of the road products that do meet the standards and they do meet the specs, but I like to go for that little bit of extra, which is why I have elected to not use general bulk oils, and I again only sell the top tier oils. On that note, moment of shameless self-promotion: if you yourself wish to change your own oil or supply your shop with premium top tier Amsoil products, you can purchase them through my dealer link down inside of this video's description below. Now, I'm not saying you have to, but it is something that I do. It is part of my business, and naturally, since it is part of my business, I do promote that. Anyway, back to our task at hand and back to reviewing our estimate. Now, this is the actual paperwork that came from the Toyota dealership. I am not going to reveal any personal or contact information for the dealership, because some of you guys will call them and complain, and that's just not cool. So we're just going to hide that part from the general public, and we're going to go over this estimate in some slight detail, and we're going to see what they were recommending and what they were charging. So a lot of this is just some nitpicky items. This is general maintenance. We've got a synthetic engine oil change and filter, multi-point inspection, Let's see here. They wanted to replace the air filter, I think, rotate tires. Here we go. Here's the decline section. Engine recommending a tune-up. That's pretty much probably going to be spark plugs, I think. There's really not much to a tune-up. But our dealership's got these at $1,040.96 for a set of spark plugs. Now, that is a little bit high, but one must consider the difficulty on replacing these spark plugs. See, we've got a V6 engine here. We have 1, 2, 3 spark plugs here on the front. Now, on the other side, underneath that intake manifold, there's going to be 3 more spark plugs. The trouble is, you've got to pull this wiper cowl and wiper transmission assembly out of the vehicle in order to remove this intake manifold, in order to gain access to the coils, to gain access to the spark plugs. So there is a little bit of labor involved right here. I believe the book calls for 3.4 hours to replace the spark plugs on this vehicle. Now, here's where it starts to get really good. Sway bar links, $888.52 for a set of front sway bar links. Check this out. Sway bars, sway bars. Why, oh why do we charge so much for sway bar links? Well, first, let's see what the sway bar links are. We've got this linear spring that runs across the entire bottom of the chassis. When the vehicle is turning and the body wants to roll and lean, this spring will flex, and that flex resistance attempts to correct the vehicle. So if you make a right-hand turn and the vehicle rolls to the left, it's going to twist this linear spring, and that is going to attempt to roll the vehicle back to a level position. What the dealership said is they need to replace the links, which is this component here, on both sides. I'm assuming because there's a little bit of grease showing right there, that's why they wanted to change it. But these links are solid, and we have almost no motion in them whatsoever. There's nothing I can feel, nothing I can see. So they wanted to change these sway bar links for $800 for kind of no reason at all. So we're not going to do anything like that. Let's hit the green subscribe button, run this thing up in the air, and we're going to go down below and take a look at the axles, because they've got a drive axle on this estimate. Where did it go? Drive axle. We recommend, yeah, driver's axle, $763.95 for a CV axle. Let's go see what they're talking about here. Moving on up. By the way, secondary moment of shameless self-promotion. If you like this kind of content and have not done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. That way you will not miss out on any future videos. Now, back to our drive axle. For the tune of, again, $763, they were saying that this axle needs to be replaced, and I'm assuming, since the boots are not torn, I'm assuming they wanted to replace it because there's engine oil on it. You see that right there? There's a slight engine oil leak, either coming from this timing cover or coming from this banjo fitting right here, where the oil pressure exits the timing cover or enters the timing cover for the VVT system. This is a very common leak on this particular engine, and I do not feel that this is that oil right there warrants replacing this CV axle for nearly $800. And that brings us to our next point on this estimate. Timing cover reseal, $1,891.56. That's a lot of dough, and that's a lot of labor to take the front of this engine apart just to throw some new RTV sealant on that cover. And again, this is such a common leak, and it's so small that I don't really feel that that justifies the expense to replace that gasket. And we don't even know if it is the gasket. What I would rather do is replace those banjo fittings real quick, clean all this off, and then we can recheck this on the next oil change. Great way to save somebody a couple $1,000s. So going back into the list again, they wanted to complete, or they wanted to conduct an EFI complete fuel system cleaning. Yeah, we can see, right? Yeah, fuel system cleaning, $359.95. Now, the fuel system cleaning, that's basically when we take our pressure vessel, fill it full of cleaner, run the engine, and then we pump that cleaner with high pressure air into the intake system. It's going to be drawn into the intake, it's going to wick over the backs of the intake valves, it's going to run through the manifold, and it's going to clean out the tops of the cylinders and remove any carbon debris. Now, that's a $400, $359 service according to the dealership. I charge, I think, like $112 for said services, and most of that is actually the actual cleaning product itself rather than any labor. They want to do some wiper blades for 70 bucks. That's not gonna happen. And air filter for $52. That's not horrible. Cabin filter for $69.95. Also not horrible. But my customer is involved in their car and they're gonna do those filters themselves at a fraction of that price. So we're definitely saving some money on this particular Toyota. So basically, this is a murderous estimate for the tune of $5,000 or $6,000 when I don't even believe that it needs most of the repairs that were suggested. And at 115,000 miles on the odometer, I would say that the only thing this vehicle really needs is gonna end up being that belt over there. It needs to be checked on regarding a tune-up, which is going to be a spark plug replacement, and I could definitely get down with the fuel system / intake system cleaning. But as for the rest of that stuff, I think they were reaching very, very hard to generate a sale, and I don't think that's fair, which is now why this vehicle is here, because we're going to do some of this work, the work that's needed on this vehicle, at a fraction of the price of what the dealership was about to charge. So now that I'm done jaw jacking, I've explained what we're doing here, why we're here. Let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna remedy this vehicle's situation with a quickness and get this vehicle back on the road for our customer. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so circling back to this tune-up here, first things first, I want to pull these coils out, and we're just going to make sure that we actually need to do some spark plugs on this unit. And there's our first broken part right there. See that? I touch it, breaks right off. Now, this is a common Toyota problem. Do not get mad at me for breaking that. This is what happens when you take these things off. There is a way to very easily fix that broken clip, but you could bet money on a Toyota the ignition coil clips are going to break no matter what you do. If you push down on the button, they snap off. If you try to get under it and pull it up, they snap off. See that? So this is already an indicator to me that this vehicle has the original plugs, because the connectors have not become broken just yet. So anyway, I've got two of these disconnected. Let's pull the coils out real quick. It's gonna take a 10 mil and a 10 mil, and then we'll pull the plugs out and see what kind of condition that they are in. You know, I gotta tell you, it's the beginning of the week, and I'm feeling like I'm coming back to life after I was stricken with illness a couple weeks ago. The irony is I think that last illness almost kind of killed me. I was close to pneumonia, I believe, and yeah, it was kind of scary. So I'm glad I didn't die, and I'm glad I'm feeling better, and I'm glad I'm back in action. You know, the irony about that is the week I got super sick and almost died is the same week I released my "You Need to Know What You're Doing So You Don't Die" t-shirt. Phrase that has come across the channel more than once, because on occasion I've done some sketchy things, but I knew what I was doing, and I knew it was sketchy, and I knew it could make you die. But since I felt like I knew what I was doing, it inspired the creation of the t-shirt, "You Need to Know What You're Doing So You Don't Die." But the irony is I almost died when I released a t-shirt about not dying. What is this? Oh, look at that. Some oil on there. Okay, we've got a Denso Iridium in here. It appears to have some markings on the top of the plug, which does suggest to me that this is a factory plug. We can see there's quite a bit of buildup on the anode and the electrode, and there's a whole lot of gap right inside of there. So I do believe it is time to replace these plugs. We've got some erosion going on around here, some discoloration, a lot of carbon buildup inside. Yep, yeah, these guys are on their way out. We're getting rid of them. So there's one. Get the second one. Unclick, please. That one doesn't really want to turn. What is this? I wonder if we have carbon built up on the part of the threads that are protruding into the combustion chamber. It's quite possible. Well, that one's not as bad as the other side. Let's take a look right here. I wonder if we've got some oil making its way into this cylinder right here, because this plug is in not as nearly as bad a condition as this one over here. And it's not oil through the valve covers or through the spark plug tube, because it's clean down inside of there. But I do see quite a bit of there's quite a bit of carbon right here on the ring, the crush washer rather, and there's a bunch of oil on the threads, which is sort of strange considering there's no oil down inside of the plug. Regardless, it's 2 down. Let's get the next one out of here. Again, I'm probably going to break the connector off, but there's also a solution to, ow, that hurt. Yeah, broke it right off. There's also a solution to fix that with just a zip tie. And it's funny, because none of the other connectors on this car will break when you go to release them. This one, that's for a VVT sensor. Don't make a liar out of me, Toyota. I don't want to be a liar. I've been called many things, but a liar will never be one of them. Actually, I've been called a liar too, but they were wrong. Misinterpreted the situation or intentions. Okay, next coil. One looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and pull this plug out. Actually, the only time I've been called a liar when I didn't lie about anything was when I was dealing with a full-fledged narcissist. I don't know if you guys know about narcissism, or the active narcissistic personality disorder, or the behaviors of one with narcissistic personality disorder, but they tend to generate their own reality, and anything that is contrary to that reality, it ultimately turns into public enemy number 1. And I was on the receiving side of being public enemy number 1 once upon a time in my life. And it's psychologically damaging to have to deal with a person like that, especially when you're related to them. Okie dokes, old plugs coming out, new plugs going in. We've got an NGK quite similar to the ones that came out of the vehicle. Let's go ahead and just get these guys down in their home. That way it protects the cylinder, and we don't have any debris falling down inside, because that could be bad. I'm not going to full send this because we don't want to impact the spark plug. We just want to use the tool to run it down. I know you guys have heard that before, but I'm also trying to consider the new people that may not know my methods and tactics. Next plug coming in. Disconnect the tool. Start the threads by hand. Run it down. Thickage. And number 3, that setup. Disconnect, down in the hole, thread it in. Yeah, this is the easy part, folks. Next, we're gonna have to pull the wiper cowl off and get to the difficult one way out back. Thick, beautiful. Okay, so we may now take our ignition coils and we're going to apply a little bit of dielectric lubricant into the tips right here. Drop these guys back down in their home, and then we may re-secure them with their fasteners. Third one. Oh, by the way, I was complaining about the dealer's bill on this, and I went through their price point, but we didn't talk about my price point. So I figure what we'll do here is we're gonna go ahead and go through this process of actually making the repair, and then at the end we will compare my bill to their bill, and we can just see we'll just see how much corporate greed that the dealership was trying to suck out of my customer here. So here we're gonna scooch in for the close-up so I can demonstrate with a zip tie how we can secure these Toyota connectors to the ignition coils without using glue or sealant or cutting off the connector and replacing it entirely. So what we do is we stick the zip tie in, pull it all the way down, and the slot in the head of the zip tie that the other end is supposed to thread into is going to rest on the tab on the coil. That right there, and as that fits into the tab, it locks in, and now we cannot remove this connector unless we pry with a little pry driver, pry this thing up and off the tab. So that is now officially locked in and secured, probably just as good or if not better than the way it was prior. So now I can just come in with a little cutter and we can cut the remainder of the zip tie away, and voila, it's like it never happened. So just repeat this times 2 more times, and these ignition coils will be secure for all time. And I get it, there's some folks out there in the comments right now saying, hey, you just touched that and you broke it, you should replace those connectors. Well, the reality is these connectors are about $46 a piece, and they take about a half of an hour to replace each one. So I'm gonna spend, well, I mean, you gotta solder the wires and heat shrink them and connect them. There's 4 connections per. So it's actually not very realistic or reasonable to replace on your own dime 6 connectors when it's a known common problem and the fix for it is actually quite cheap and easy. I've never met a customer that had a broken Toyota connector that said, yeah, let's just go ahead and replace that since they break off. And I realize the zip tie mod works, but we're gonna put a new one on there. Never met somebody do that. They've always decided that it's not cost effective, and I agree, and that's why we don't do it that way. So zip tie mod works every time, 100% of the time.
They've done studies, you know, 60% of the time it works every time.
Okay, so now easy side's done. Let's pull the wiper cowl assembly apart. That's going to be wiper arms, the top cover, the bottom panel, the wiper transmission and the motor, and that's going to give us some access to the back side of this engine. We can pull the intake manifold off and then get those rear plugs removed. Alrighty, now it's time for the hard part. Let's get the wipers off, and we'll remove the cowling, and then we can pull this intake manifold. Whoa! Don't lose that. That's cosmetic plastics, and we want to keep those around. So what we're going to need is a 15mm socket, and I will just hit those with a 1/4" drive impact, and that should spin those bolts off with a relative ease. That's not a 15, that's a 14. My micrometer is slightly out of calibration here. Now I'm going to hold the arm, that way the impacts from the gun, even though it's a small gun, they don't transfer down into the wiper transmission or the motor. So just hang on to that arm assembly so it can't flop around. Nice and easy like. There we go. Now, sometimes you've got to use a puller to get these off. Sometimes you can just kind of wiggle them and they pop right out of there. It all depends on how tight they were installed at some point. Sometimes they end up super tight, sometimes they come off no problem. This was the easy way. I hope the rest of this job goes just as smooth. So down here at the base of this cowling, we've got some plastic clips that secure the top side of the wiper assembly to the bottom side. And we need to come in with a trim tool and disconnect those clips. Ideally, we're going to do that without breaking them. We've got to keep some up pressure on the unit and then just pull upwards as we go down the line and disengage all of these little connectors here. There we go, there's one, and all the way on the end there's another one. What else are we stuck on here? Now we should just be able to just kind of pull this thing back, pop it out of position, and this exposes our wiper motor and transmission assembly. Okay, quick disconnect of the electrical connector, and we can start to pull the bolts out for the wipers. There's one there, and then we're looking at I think 2 on this side and 1 or 2 for the motor. There's one hiding out back there. Come here. Oh man, slippage. Wrong angle from a dangle here. Hang on. Did that all wrong. It's backwards. Okay, that's 2 of those guys, and I believe there is not one for the motor. Take a look, there's just like a grommet right here. You can slide this off the grommet. There we go. And our wiper assembly comes free. Next, we need to disconnect the windshield from the wiring harness, and then we're going to disconnect this entire harness because that is needs to be removed in order to get this lower cowl assembly. Broke that clip. No, I didn't. We have to remove this lower cowl assembly to gain access to the manifold. Here, check this out. Ancient Chinese secret with these clips here. Take a socket and use that socket to push the little clip tabs in for an easy release. There you go. Learn that on the internet. That one is not releasing. There we go. So now you can pull the harness aside and just set this over here in that area. So we've got a few more 10mm fasteners down on this cowl, and then there's a couple 14s that have to come off, which also serve as the bolts to secure the struts. I think I've just got to take off, I think it's just this one here and that one there, and that one can stay. Here, let's get our 14s first. That was great. Bright lights. Come unpicked, please. Seriously? One word of caution when working in this type of area. You see how we're on the edge of the glass right here? There's potential to break this windshield, so you don't want to hit this with a tool or a ratchet. You should exercise extreme caution when working in such an area, because I'd rather not introduce something that's going to cost money. Like if I break this glass, that's totally on me. Breaking the connectors is one thing, but breaking glass is another thing. And I've done it. I broke the windshield on a Volkswagen Touareg once. I was changing the wiper blades and I left the arm sitting up, and the arm snapped back down with the blade off, and when the arm hit the glass, it just shattered the entire thing. Yeah, I was upset. The boss was upset, the bank account was upset because the department had to pay for it, and it was an $1,800 piece of glass, and they charged us $600 to install it. That was no good. Yeah, it's that whole risk versus liability versus reward type of situation. I should make another t-shirt. You got to know what you're doing so you don't cost yourself $2,500. I don't know, it's not as catchy as dying though. But either way, you still have to know what you're doing. Mostly. Or you fake it till you make it, right? That's the other phrase. Fake it till you make it. Yeah, we've all done it. We've all faked it till we made it. Uh-oh. Aftermarket accessories. Alert. Alert. We've got some relays or whatever that are in the way. Or circuit breakers, rather. Those are circuit breakers. Self-tapping screwed circuit breakers. I guess I'll just take these off and just kind of leave them sit here. Probably the best idea. So we will un-self-tap screw these guys. Save these for later. Come here. There we go. I don't know if these wires are live or not, so we're just gonna kind of tuck those in over there where they're safe. Okay, so now our wiper cowl assembly can be removed, I think. What are we stuck on? Everything. There we go. Oh, it's stuck on the plastic trim over here, the rubber trim. Maneuver this thing out of the way, and now we've got exposure to our engine. Yay! So now we got to dig this intake manifold out of here. So we shall need to remove probably the air filter element and the intake tubing and some other stuff. So I'm thinking I'll leave the air box here and we'll just try to pull the tubing out. It's 2 clamps here and here. It's a flexible tubing, so I should be able to just squeeze it right out. Should. Yeah, it'll come out. There's a PCV fitting right here. Get rid of that. This might be fun to jam back in here later. I'm always trying to beat the clock too. Might have saved some time by not removing all this intake plumbing over here. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the throttle body from the intake. Reason being is there's a bolt behind there for a bracket I need to get to, and there's also 2 coolant lines running into this throttle body. So I can either take off the coolant lines and spill some coolant, or I can just take the throttle body off and set it aside and not spill coolant. And I choose option B. Option B is the way. Set this guy aside right down here. Try to tuck that hose in with it just to keep that out of the way. There's a PCV hose right here. I want to get this guy off without breaking it. That would be ideal. Here we go. Well, without breaking the intake manifold. You break off that little nipple right there and you just bought yourself an intake. Risk versus risk versus reward. I keep saying risk versus liability, and those are the same thing, kind of, sort of. Not exactly, but they're close. They're in the same category. Okay. There should be a bracket right here. Yeah, yep. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. I'm trying to get you in there. There's a bracket right there secured with a 12 mil bolt, and that bracket's designed to offer some rigidity to the intake manifold. There's one on this side and one on I think on the other side. So I'm going to reach in here with a ratchet wrench, take that bolt out right there, and then we'll move over to the other side to remove the next one. All right, 12 millimeter socket and a ratchet coming in. Get a hold of it here and just kind of give it a tug on that ratchet. Oh, there we go. You know, a key indicator to find out if this job's ever been done before is if you find these bolts that are missing, because a lot of times guys don't want to put them back because they're hard to reach. Okay, let's get out of this corner of the intake and we're gonna maneuver on over here to this side. We've got one connector that will not break when I disconnect it. Oh, come here, you. Don't make a liar out of me. Need more flangey strength. Yeah, this oh, come off of there, you. Yeah, rather than push the connector at the button, I'll just try to get under it with a little pick right here. There we go. Yep, not broken. Funny how that works on the Toyotas. Okay, one more 12 millimeter on a bracket back there, and I don't remember where it's at. I'm trying to feel it. Yeah, where is that stinking thing? Oh, there it is. I feel the bracket right here. So if that's the bracket, then the 12, I feel the 12. It's right by my finger here. Get this let's get the socket maneuvered in. Okay, I'm on the fastener. I know you guys can't see what's happening back there. My apologies. Hey, I can't even see, so we're all in the same boat, right? That was tight. Yeah, this intake's never ever been removed before. Got my fingers on the fastener, giving it the twistaroo. Slowly backing it out. There's a harness here also, and I'm reaching around the harness to be able to manipulate that bolt, which normally wouldn't be that bad. The annoying part is the bolt has this built-in washer. So when you're reaching around and you try to turn it, your fingers want to contact the washer, and it's hard to get a hold of just the head of the bolt. So you sort of have to grab both and just kind of twist both at the same time. It's kind of aggravating. It's really aggravating if you don't know how to do it. Okay, it's intake manifold bolt removal time. There's a couple hex bolts and then two 10 millimeter nuts. I think there's 4 of these guys in the middle here. The astute amongst you will notice that I'm using a Torx bit on these Allen drives. You can do that because the Torx bit contacts the flank of the Allen drive and is actually less likely to slip than an Allen drive bolt or an Allen drive socket or a hex socket. In my experience, of course. That may not apply to everything and everybody, but in my estimation, you can use Torx, which I prefer for previously stated reasons. So those are the 210s. Go. That's all for those units. Set these guys aside in the fastener tray. I believe this upper intake should be loosey-goosey. Yep. One more vacuum line. Another one to be careful to not break, because there is in fact a plastic nipple here. We do not want to break our plastic nipples off. Up and out, with the exception of this vacuum line right here. Some needle noses will make light work of that. Give it a twist and a tug. Brake booster vacuum source disconnected. And there's the back side of our engine. So first things first, let's lose these old gaskets right here. Get these guys out of the way. There's new ones on the way here. I will go ahead and shove some paper towels into these intake runners. That one was too small. We need a new one. There we go. Yeah, there's a bit of dust and dirt and sand up here. So we're gonna vacuum it off. No, I didn't do it with the intake on because this part in the back was all covered. So we gotta do it this way. Sorry. I know y'all are saying you should have done that first. I mean, I could have blown it off, but it's fine. There we go. Okay, getting in close on our rear cylinder head, we got to move this wiring harness here out of the way. So I'm just going to release the clips, kind of pull this thing upwards. That'll give us a little bit of space to play with here. This one's on there pretty good. Pry it up with a trim tool. See how it slips over that stud there? This section of the wire is actually harnessed for the fuel injectors, and since that's pretty tight, I'm just going to disconnect these injectors just to give me a little bit more slack on that harness. Come off of there, you. Good. And one more connector right here. Pull that guy off. Now, I can get the coil connectors disconnected. Pocket screwdriver for the win right here. Gonna try to do this without breaking these rear ones. There we go. That's two, and the third one, it's kind of pointing towards us. Different angle for the dangle here. Disconnected. Good. Thank you, sir. See him there. Let's pull our 10s out for the coils. Got to remove this bracket right here because that's covering up this other coil. So this is that difficult to reach bracket that I was trying to, or I had to reach around and get the bolt for the intake. Another fun thing about this is not much clearance right here between the bolt and the socket, and looks like the AC line. So I'm getting that one manually. Ratchet should do it. There we go. Oh, that's tight too. Unpickage there. Let's turn that sideways like so. See that? That's going to help out later on, because finding this bolt hole is quite difficult with the intake in position. So here's the 10 for the coil. Pull that guy out. And now I may remove my ignition coils. Fry driver. There we go. There's one coil. Second one. And number 3 back here. Beautiful. Okay, 3 coils removed. Let's dig the spark plugs out next. Okay, spark and plug socket coming in. Just gonna go right down the line and pull these guys out. Unpick. Multiple unclicks. That one's in there. Yeah, about the same as the others. Yeah, lots of wear. Not looking too great. Definitely showing its age. Neutral drop. Similar condition. All right, last one. Oh, that one's coming right out. Cool. Equally nasty. Alrighty. Very good. Okay, well, let me get the last three plugs unboxed, and we'll drop them in. Then we may reverse procedure and begin the reassembly phase here. Okay, new spark plug in the socket in triplicate. I'm gonna go ahead and drop these guys down. Let's get them all in the holes first, then we'll thread them down, then we'll tighten them up. Go. Clearance. Just run out of clearance with that electric tool there. Kickage. Last one. Beautiful. Okay, 3 coils coming back in. I've already greased up the tips. So let's drop these units back down inside their homes here. Where's that screw hole at? There it is. Three bolts coming back. Can you guys see what we're doing here? Yeah, I think so. A little closer. Not really, because the cylinder head's pointing away from us. Nobody can see what we're doing here. And bear with me, we're almost done with this part, and then we can kind of back up and get a better view here. Good. So I'll reconnect the coils next. Isn't it great how all these connectors survived? It's a very fascinating phenomenon. I'm sure it has something to do with heat. It's a Toyota thing. Toyota, hot, hot, hot. Ha! Couldn't resist it, I had to do it. You guys remember what I'm talking about, right? The Toyota commercials? Toyota, hot, hot, hot. Not gonna quit my day job because I'm no singer. Na 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 na. There we go. Okay, wires are back on, connectors are back on, coils are on, plugs are in. Let us back it up some and get our intake manifold reinstalled here. Here, let's get the intake plugs out. I'm not going to troll you guys by performing some camera trickery and leaving these in and making it look like I put the intake manifold on. I've done that before and I fooled some people, and some folks got upset with me about it, and some thought it was pretty funny. Anyway, intake's coming back in. You'll notice it's got new gaskets here, but they are not blue. These were Moly gaskets, and they don't make them in the blue color, which is fine. I just figured I'd point that out because people would say that they didn't see the gaskets and would have speculated that I did not replace them. So there's the proof in the pudding, so to speak. Slide that guy down like so. That lived right there. Let's get the, we got 4 bolts and 2 nuts. And get the nuts on the edges. Bolt. 2. Ones in the back are harder to reach, but it can be done. The proper flange tactics. That one's in. And that one right there. Good, good, good. Here, let's get these threads started real quick, just so everybody's secure. And before I tighten these down, I'm gonna reach around the back side of this intake and we're gonna put those bracket bolts back in. The reason I'm gonna do it before I tighten this down is once these gaskets compress, it's gonna change the alignment of those brackets versus their bolt holes, and it could make the bolt holes not line up properly and I won't be able to get the thing threaded. So let's go with the easy side here first. It's the one I can most easily reach. You gonna thread in there or what? There, bolt. Push it down some. Come on. Please. Yeah, there we go. I feel it. It's catching. Haha! Victory. Okay, that's one nut. Let's go over to the hard side and get the last bracket together. Gonna need, where's my bolt? There she is right there. So this one, that's kind of much more funner. Okay, I'm on the bracket. I can feel it. Okay, hard fastener. So I'm feeling around. I found the hole. Trying to maneuver that bolt into the hole here. Now I've just got to find the threads on the manifold. This is quite cumbersome. I think they're catching. I think I got it right here. It feels pretty good. Okay. Twisting. It's threading in. I'm getting it, guys. We got it. Ooh. Giving myself carpal tunnel trying to reach around this corner here. There. Two things at one time. Efficiency. Okay, that bolt's bottomed out. We go in there with the ratchet, get both of those bracket bolts tight, and then we can actually, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do these ones first. That way this thing sits down flat and even, and then we'll go around the back side and do the brackets. Reason being, I don't want the brackets to be kind of binding the intake and making it favor one direction over the other. All right, coming on in with the Torx bit for a secondary time. We're gonna go ahead and tighten this manifold down in something of a sequence, because there are gaskets and this thing is plastic. So we don't want to tighten down one bolt all the way and then go to the next one. We're going to snug them all up and then go back for a second round here. Let's get these guys a little bit tight here. And go ahead and run down the nuts. There we go. A little bit of torque on the Torx bolts, hex bolts, Allen bolts, middle bolts, pickage. Let go. Yeah, that is the downside of using a Torx bit on an Allen key or an Allen bolt. They dig in on the flank so well on occasion they get a little stuck, so you got to wiggle them off. Let's get the 10, the other 10 over here on that side. Now we can go back around the back side and get the bracket bolts retightened. So switching out to the 12 millimeter. And just gonna reach on back around here. Again, I apologize, you guys aren't gonna be able to see, but at least we're gonna show the process. I usually skip this part on this particular job. It's difficult to film and extremely difficult to keep you guys' attention while you're just watching my hand kind of flop around in the back. So I'm hoping my jaw jacking is enough to maintain audience retention here. Click. So that's the one on the back that goes into the manifold. I've got to get the other bolt on the bottom of that bracket tight, because I took it loose to allow the bracket to move around. Yeah, now you can kind of see. Stick that light back there. There. That's the angle we're all looking for here. Okay, that one's tight, good. Let's go around to the driver's side here and get that next one, which was fairly easier to reach. There she is right there. See, this is why you can't use a torque wrench on everything. How am I supposed to get a torque wrench in these super hard to reach places? You sort of have to know what you're doing. And that comes with a little bit of experience. Not to float my own boat, but that's why not everything gets torqued to the manufacturer's torque specifications, because you kind of just can't do it. I mean, I could if I pulled the motor out and took the car out of the way, then I might be able to get a torque wrench on those fasteners, but in chassis, it's not as clear cut. Excuses, you're just making excuses. Yeah, there's always that one guy. There's always one. It's just how it is. Some people just like to be mad, and we feel bad for you guys. We call you trolls. You know, a lot of folks say I should delete the trolls or ban the trolls, or, you know, don't feed the trolls. And I disagree, because I think trolls are people too, and I think their negativity is it's like a cry for help, you know, like an angry teenager that shaves half their head and dyes their lips black. Yeah, trolling is it's an attention-seeking behavior. Because seriously, who gets that angry over auto repair content on the internet? That just doesn't seem right. My overhead light just died. And there's plenty of more things to be angry about besides whether or not a technician used a torque wrench or chose to not use a torque wrench. Like taxes, for example. We should be unified in our anger towards taxes, and not so much the little things, especially when those little things can be classified as entertainment. See, here's a little thing. Look, here's a perfect example. We got the time clock thing over there. That angers me because my wife is trolling me by putting that out in the shop, but it gives me an opportunity to go doo 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 doo. Similar to my phone ringer, but different. That's the phone ringer from back in the day. But it gives me an opportunity to take a negative and turn it into a positive. So my wife is trolling me by making me listen to that stupid ringer. Yet I'm not gonna be mad about it. We're gonna make fun of it and enjoy it instead, because it's easier to just make fun of stuff we don't like than it is to indulge in anger. Because anger is the dark side of the Force, and we learned how that worked out for Anakin. You don't want to engage the dark side. Once you start down the path of darkness, it will forever consume your destiny. You see, like, someone's gonna be mad at me for not changing this gasket behind the throttle body. Somebody will be. They'll get angry over that. But it's fine. I assure you it's fine. For a couple of reasons. Number one, it's not gonna leak. And number two, really hard to get a hold of that replacement gasket. Nearly impossible, actually. So rather than indulging the difficulty, we just go ahead and skip that part. Makes life a little easier. See, then one might ask, well, why did I replace the intake manifold gaskets and not this gasket? And that's real simple. It's again, risk mitigation. It's very difficult to replace these gaskets, but not very difficult to replace this gasket. So if I were to take the gamble, which I did, and elect to not change that potentially easy gasket, number one, I saved my customer $25, and if it does turn out to be a problem, it's much easier to correct that problem than a potential problem with the other gaskets. So there's time and effort and several factors that can go into such decisions. And again, I simply rely on my experience in the field to make those kinds of judgment calls. Because the reality is when you have people that at least think they know what they're doing, we can rely on their best judgment for the best outcome during a situation. Plug that guy in, get in there. All the way in there, there we go. It's all good in the hood. 2 more 10s. Oh yeah, I was saying something about banning the trolls, and that they are people too that need attention. I recognize that, and I also don't believe in censorship and banning people. So usually when a troll's got something nasty to say, I let them say it, because they have every right to say what their opinion is. I've only banned a certain amount of people, and those are people that actually got themselves way out of line and said something like remarkably inappropriate that should not have been said, and could be damaging. But it's not really my place in the world to decide who gets to speak and who doesn't get to speak. And I realize it's, you know, my channel or whatever, and I have every right to do that, but I also don't want to create what they call an echo chamber, where everybody's like-minded and you create like this hive mind mentality. I try to avoid that by encouraging constructive dialogue rather than shutting it down. You know, you look at a lot of channels like the Wavy Arm Guy channel, and that person, he'll ban anybody who disagrees with him. It's just the way it is, and that does create an echo chamber, and it creates a hive mind, and I don't agree with that either. So I try to do my part to avoid creating that. See, the internet's a very dark and cold place, and it's full of that type of opposition. And I want to do my part to not encourage that behavior. I'd like to at least dismantle it or make others aware that it exists. And I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. I realize I'm just one guy here, and I may not have the idealistic effect on the world that I would like to, but I believe it was Gandhi that said you should be the change that you want to see. And if you want to make the world a better place, make your world a better place. And that's one thing that I try to live by, and I do attempt to behave in such a fashion. And whether that's effective or not, I guess only time will tell, but at least at the end of the day I can say that I tried. Now, having said all that, I can't wait for some jackwagon troll comment to come in here and tell me how much of a POS I am for being naive and thinking I've got the power to influence anything or anybody. Because there are people that just want to see the world burn. And that's fine. Because if we burn, you burn with us. Yeah, that's right, I stole that line from the Hunger Games. Okay, so now we're, let me get back on topic. That'll end my, my troll rant of the day, I suppose. You know, free thoughts and whatnot. Sometimes you just gotta fill the space with something to talk about, and I ran out of stuff to talk about other than putting the car together, so that's what I chose to do today. Yeah, I'm missing one of these 10s. There was one, no, never mind. The one that goes there is for the wiper transmission, so that's a non-issue. So here, a couple 10 mils, clickages, no torque wrench, not needed. And one more way over yonder. Clicks. Now we got to get the 14s for the strut towers. Okay, 14 coming in. One side. Let's get the other ones way out here. Very good. So now we may plug the windshield back in to its harness. It's not really the glass that's plugged in. I think that might be like a defrost or you know, like a heating element or something like that. Anybody know what that's actually for, these wires? Let me know in the comment land down below. I would like to know what that's for. Not a dealer Toyota technician, so I've never had one of those apart. Not sure what it is. It's something though, it's definitely something. Okay, let's put our little aftermarket unit things back in here. We had some self-tapping screws for these breakers right here. thick. No torque spec required. Double click. That's good to go. So now you can get the wiper transmission back in, and then the top side of the cowl goes on. Okay, wiper unit. Stick this thing back in position, and I'm definitely paying mind to the glass so I don't break it. Slide the little grommet in front of the motor, or on the motor. Come on, grommet. I'm doing this wrong. Hang on. There we go. Okay, 110 mil on the corner. Another one in the upper corner. And then the third one over here on the left. There we go. Become tight. And then we've got the one I was trying to strip out earlier. Wiper clickage, good to go. Okay, let's get the plastic top of the cowl on, and then put the wiper arms on, and we're in the home stretch. Okay, wipey cowl. Let's get this thing kind of nudged into position here. Got to pay mind to the hinges and the trim. There we go. Now there's a slot on the back side of this, and that slot needs to go over the actual piece of glass itself. So I've got to make sure all that stuff lines up before snapping the bottom piece of the cowling into position here. There's little tabs on the bottom side of it that have to go under the glass. There's one. If they don't all line up, you can't really get one side over to get it together. Oh, there we go, got it. Now I can snap in the little clips, and this unit is secure. This clip over here on the right doesn't want to go in. Push it back, and there we go. That one's in position. Clipped all the way down. A couple clips here on the left. Push them in. Then the trim plastics. Snap that down, that one's good. And then one more trim. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, that's all in. Let's get the wiper arms on next. Now, these are easy to get confused, but you'll find that the driver's side is super long, 28 inches, and the passenger side is shorter, around 22 inches. So we can use the marks on the glass to determine where they rest and what position they go in. Just put that right on the little dust line. Put the arm in position. And then same thing here on the passenger side. Here's our dust line, so that's where the actual blade is going to sit. Send that guy down, and it's going to spline in on the shaft. One nut here, and the other nut right over there. And a quick hit with the impact gun will secure the wiper arm. Same thing on this side. Clickage. And the most important part, It's gonna be the plastic trim. If you lose this or you break it, everyone's gonna notice and your efforts will be cosmetically ruined. And that would be bad. We don't want to ruin the cosmetics. Ah, beautiful. Okay, so we've got wiper cowl back together. The rear spark plugs are in, front spark plugs are in. Time to hit the key and fire this thing up. Let's head on into the cabin. Looks like we're push button start on this one. Let's see here. So what we're gonna do, bear with me folks here, I have an idea. I'm gonna have to get in the car. Epic fail. Thought I was gonna reach in and just push the button. And I thought wrong, didn't I? Okay, foot on the brake. Beginning engine stopping sequence now. It is alive. Good to go. Let's see here, no warning messages. Everybody's looking good in the neighborhood. We do have a TPMS light, but I've got 2 sensors to install in the wheels. Fairly inconsequential. And not the topic of this video. Let's go check our engine here. She's running, no misfires. Looking good in the neighborhood. I'd say this particular job is good to go, guys. Now, as always, there is some other work we're gonna do to this vehicle. I am gonna run some fuel system cleaner through it. I'm gonna pull that banjo fitting off on the back side of the cylinder head and put new crush washers on it. We're gonna clean that off and we're gonna determine if that timing cover is the oil leak or if just that line was the oil leak, but that's gonna be a job for the next oil change. I think I've got to, yeah, I mentioned earlier, I've got to put the sensors in the tires. And I need to look at the RO. There's a couple other things we're going to do. But we're going to have to save that one for a different time, different video. This video is running at its maximum length, and we have accomplished all goals where it's necessary for the time being. So having said all that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close this one out right now. I will do such things as always by thanking each and every one of you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. If you have not already and would like to see more of this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. That way you will receive notifications and you will not miss out on any future content. So again, and as always, thank you for watching. And before I go, I'd like to remind each and every one of you guys to not forget to have yourselves a fantastic day. See you guys later in a video, in a Toyota Sienna, in a V6 tune-up, any day, in the transmission. Hey you guys, it's like the middle of the night and I completely forgot to go through the cost and estimate of this job. So let's do that real quick right now. So we'll start with the drive belt replacement. Our friendly dealer was at $300 and we're doing it for $157. The tune-up, which is the spark plugs and the gasket and some intake system cleaner, came out to be right at $850 with all that labor included, not $359 for the cleaner and $1,100 or whatever for the spark plug job. I win. 2 tire pressure monitoring system sensors. Look at there, $137.68. I win again. Later on, we're gonna put some helper bags on here because the helper bags that are currently installed in the vehicle have holes in them. We didn't go over that in the video, but that's also something else I'm about to do. Little bit of labor involved because I've got to pull the axle down and take the springs out, then put the bags inside of the springs. But we came in at a cool $430 for that one. So even with this add-on job that was not on the dealer estimate, I beat them by over $3,500. Oops, I win again. I mean, yeah, we didn't do the timing cover reseal or those end links, and I also did not end up replacing that drive axle because we didn't need to do any of that work. So I win and the customer wins.